I put together a compilation of the greatest grappling minds across jiu-jitsu, wrestling and judo, sharing their best lessons. And it all starts with John Danaher, legendary coach behind countless world champions in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
What major practical changes can a hobbyist who works regular 9-to-5 job do to improve their jiu-jitsu? So they're in a gym. There's a lot of excellent gyms throughout the United States. What can they do to improve their jiu-jitsu? About the way they think about jiu-jitsu, about the way they approach their actual schedule, those kinds of things.
That's a great question. Okay. The less training time you've got, the more you want to maximize its effect. So a question becomes, okay, well, if I'm training, say, twice a week, and sometimes even once a week, what can I do to make sure that that 2-hour period is used maximally? The less training time you've got, the more the onus is on you to have a plan before you walk in the door. If you go in just saying, I'm going to roll around and see what happens, or I'll just follow what the instructor says, you'll get a certain amount out of each class, but it will never be what it could have been. Go in with a plan and enact it. Many people go in with a plan and don't follow it. Let's say, for example, we start with a program that goes like this. First, try to create the most honest assessment of yourself as a jiu-jitsu player. It's tough to make an honest assessment of yourself because you never actually get to see your game. So what I would recommend is to start by videotaping yourself in sparring with your peers.
That's fascinating because we don't even have that level of introspection, ability to reflect of what we actually look like in grappling.
Start with an assessment of yourself. And the most honest one comes not from you, comes from the camera. Have a look at what you see and start to say, okay, many of the weaknesses in your game are made much more apparent by looking from the outside in rather than feeling them during the heat of a match. Identify 4 or 5 of the biggest weaknesses that you see and start actively attacking those weaknesses. Ask yourself, let's say, for example, in the course of watching the videotape of yourself, you observe yourself losing 3 triangles. You attempted 3 triangle strangleholds, you failed all 3. You could start by saying, okay, let me ask myself, who are the people I look up to the most with regards a triangle strangle? Who are the guys who have the best triangle strangles out there? Then ask yourselves, of those people, who are the ones whose body type and personality most closely mirrors my own? And that would be a good example of taking a problem in your game, contrasting it with elite level performance in people whose body type roughly matches your own, and then try to take lessons you learn by observing the best people and bringing them into your own game in one specific area. As time goes by and you do this with more and more elements of your game, you will undoubtedly improve. You will also have to make sure that you take time during class to actively work on these things. Now, sometimes in class, you don't get a choice. The instructor sometimes says, okay, today we're working this, this, and this. But there's always time after and before class where you can do your own drilling, where you can make your own inquiries. And during sparring, there's no rigorous control over what you do. You can try to work the game into the area of focus. So, for example, if you want to work on front triangles, it would be wise for you to do most of your sparring from bottom guard positions. That'll give you the most opportunity. And in this sense, it always begins with an accurate assessment of your current skill level. You've got to start there. Then I always encourage people to use video camera to make the most honest appraisal you can.
Yeah.
Because your own mind is not dishonest, but it's understandably inaccurate. You tend to feel things rather than see them when you're performing jiu-jitsu. Then make a program for yourself based around what you see as excellence. Look at the people in the sport who's in the area you want to work on, people who are renowned for skill in that area. If possible, narrow it down to people who have excellence in that area and their body type corresponds with your own. And then try to take lessons learned from observing the excellence in these elite athletes and bring elements of them into your game. Never try to bring an elite athlete's entire game to your game. That will create an inauthentic game on your part, which will always be a poor copy of what you're trying to watch. Rather, bring very specific areas and skills that you see and import them from different people until eventually you find something for yourself. Experiment a lot, okay? Everyone's different. And so don't see the video research as the final word. See video research the way a writer will see a muse, as someone who initiates discussion, opens inquiries for your own research. The most powerful moments you will have on the mat come from making discoveries for yourself, not being told what to do, not observing someone else doing something, but self-discoveries. Those are the ones that will last inside you. So use video research not as the definitive answer to your problems, but as initiating research for yourself on the mat. And as time goes by and you do this more and more often in more and more areas of the sport, I promise you'll improve.
Well, let me ask you for some advice. You've been through one heck of a career, one heck of a life. What advice would you give to a young person today?
Well, in wrestling, I think wrestling is really a microcosm of what your life's going to be. And that's why one of the things I stress to kids is like, if we can go through this now and you figure, I have a couple kids who are struggling with certain things right now. If you can figure out this now in wrestling, it's going to be a lot better to figure out now and get over this mental hump than when you're 32 and you have 2 kids and your job's not going well. It's going to be a lot worse. It's going to be a lot more painful then. Let's fucking figure it out now. So a lot of these things, a lot of these lessons we can learn from wrestling, whether it's persistence or perseverance or work ethic or, like I said, wrestlers show up on time and they work hard, right? These things, if we can learn these things at an early age, those characteristics will generally carry on throughout our life. And those are the things that are going to make us really successful. So, I would say find a great coach, someone who's going to spend a lot of time and put a lot of time into you and make sure they have a lot of wisdom and steal all the wisdom that you can from them. And then if you can be successful at one thing, generally whatever that recipe was that took you to be successful at that, apply it to everything else, right? Apply it to the rest of your life. Apply it to getting a wife that you enjoy. Apply it to living in a place you want to live, doing a job you want to do, right? There's so many possibilities, and you just have to be bold enough to go take those chances.
It's interesting because like early on in life is when you have much more time. Like people don't realize this, time to learn the lessons. Like somehow later in life, you get busier, responsibilities and all that kind of stuff. Like high school is a magical time, even college.
In college, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's so much time to
right?
learn.
Well, you don't even have kids yet.
I don't have kids, but it still fills up. Well, no, I on purpose, and I did something that many people don't seem to be able to do. I walked away from a lot of responsibilities just by saying goodbye.
Oh, okay.
But meetings, like everybody around me at MIT was like, meetings fill the day, and then you have more projects, and you do a great job, and you become successful, and then the more meetings fill the day, and more responsibilities, as opposed to like, wait a minute, do I want to be involved in all these things? And instead, do I want to find 1 or 2 things to really focus on? And that's what I choose. But that it becomes harder and harder and harder as you get older.
No, I mean, I'm sure, and also the more success you have, you become sought after other places.
Yeah,
too. I'm sure that's happening with you.
And it's hard to keep saying no.
It is. Saying no is hard.
Yeah.
Overdid it.
You do anything for mindset when it comes to competing? Like study anybody or?
I like studying people. I mean, just see what they're going to do so I can anticipate this. I think I'll cater my game for a lot of what people are going to try to do to me. So it's like play either into what I think their weaknesses are or kind of move away from their strengths. You know?
How about what's your mindset when you walk out to a competition mat?
I don't know. I don't really think of anything. You know, just do it.
Flow state.
Like
You don't say to yourself, "I'm the fucking best. I'm gonna kill this guy."
definitely not.
Really?
No, I think I've done so many competitions where I thought I was gonna lose every time, and then
I've
win
never
most of
thought
the
I was
time.
gonna lose.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you never lost.
I pleasantly surprised myself more than I.
I like to lower the bar and exceed expectations.
Yeah,
I'm the
that's
opposite.
great.
Whenever I win, even if it's by submission, I'm like, damn, I could have done it so much faster, so much better.
Really.
If I win by submission, I'm like, thank God that's behind me.
honestly, well, like when I won,
Yikes, that was risky. I could have a normal job. But I'm doing this. Thank God it went well. All right.
this is. I completely
You
sympathize
resonate.
with this. Yeah,
See?
yeah.
Everyone's different. These guys have been trying to.
We're done with
Glad
that.
that's behind me. 100%. 100%.
I mean, I just like doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't necessarily get a thrill from competing, you know? I'm like,
Really?
I'm just like, oh, cool, we're done.
That's like the best part for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I just wish I could train every day and not care about anything else. This is
Then why do you compete?
For money.
money. Money.
That's money.
Well, I love training.
Because if I never competed, who would know about me? No one would care about me.
So you want people to know about you?
Yeah, I mean, to make a living, right? Because imagine, you don't know who you are, you can't do seminars, you can't teach. It's like, it's
So
hard.
it's primarily to to build yourself up so that you can sustain yourself and be successful.
Absolutely,
You
yeah,
don't
yeah.
actually. Do you like competing? Like, do you like the act of competition and winning, or is it just like?
For a long time, I said no, but I'm trying to not be like that anymore. You know, I'm like, okay,
I like this.
I kind of like it
I
more
like
and
this,
more
this is
now.
what
You
I
know,
wanna do.
like I'm excited about CJI. I'm not like fuck. I don't want to do CJI. I really want to do it, and I mean, I think it's changing maybe because I feel more experienced and I'm more used to competing. Because before, even until recently, like right before the last CJI, I was like, wow, I don't even think I can beat any of these guys. You know, like even after I won
you
trials,
should
I was
lie
like,
to yourself.
You're smart for
You're
that.
too smart. You'll figure it out. You know all your tells.
I've been doing it so long.
I'm like, I can't believe like I can beat these guys. I'm like, really? So
You
and
start to believe in yourself
now,
after
now
you.
I kind of believe it. You know,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, I can beat these guys.
But you
I
believe
feel.
it because you understand their game. You're like, wow, he's doing this poorly, and I do this better. Or what is your?
A little bit of that, and a little bit of like, oh, I've realized I'm actually quite good.
It's from the results. It's from the results.
Yeah, but
from
it
what
took a
sounds
lot
like.
of results. Like even when I
Yeah.
won trials, I'm like just a fluke. You know, in my mind, I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah.
bro, I could have just been like lucky.
I mean, I didn't think that for you, but I thought that of myself many times. I'm like, yeah, I won, but like, I don't know, maybe that guy's not good, you know?
Yeah,
Like, shit, I don't know.
exactly. You know, like, but then like for example, right before CGI, I fought like Varela, Dorsey, Ty, and then I had Varela again, and then Hulk. I was like, oh, these are all pretty good guys, and I was like, I didn't feel like terrible.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, oh, yeah.
Shit, maybe I
guess
can
I'm
hang
good.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hulk, you just took your foot off the gas. That's all.
Yeah, I should have just ate it, you know?
Nah,
No,
it's
no,
okay.
break
It's
my
okay.
No,
knee.
you
I'm
should have
joking.
just.
I should have just. I'm joking. I'm joking.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
I should have just probably kept wrestling. You know?
Stay engaged.
Yeah, you
I
decide.
was just
Crazy,
like,
like,
I do have this habit of like, okay, I'm winning the match. I'm just gonna chill now.
Can't.
Like in my match with Tommy as well, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna chill now, and then I'm doing guard retention, and he almost passes me. I'm like, oh shit, good thing this is the end of the match, you know?
It ain't ever over till it's over, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
till the fat lady sings, they say.
I don't even know what that means, but
Opera. No one knows this.
Is that like because
over
it's like
till
the
the fat
last?
lady sings?
The fat lady is the last person to sing, usually
Yeah.
in opera.
is it?
I mean, I understand the phrase, but I never actually. I didn't understand.
Brutes.
Lovely.
Competition,
No, I actually
one-on-one, one-on-one combat is like one of the oldest things humans have been doing.
I guess, yeah.
So it's very organic for you to be.
Blinking came first. But
Can you shut the fuck up?
Shut the fuck. What the fuck was
sorry,
that?
continue.
As far as two people doing
Sex.
competing, competing against each other, it's very organic. So that's how I look at it. I don't know how do you look at it? Like are you just like fuck, I have to do this?
I just like jujitsu. Like I just want to like. This is why I think something I like about the way I compete and like just my jujitsu overall is like I feel like I'm generally well-rounded, and then like I always try to bring new things into my game. So I'm not trying to do the same shit over and over and over. 'Cause I'll just get bored. Like even if it works every time, like I want to mix it up and see what else I can do, and that's where I enjoy it the most. You know. So, like,
I agree with that because when I prepare for competition, I really enjoy sharpening everything up and being like, oh, I'm going to peak, you know what I mean? Looking forward to that peak. And then afterwards, I also really enjoy like, oh, I'm going to play different scenarios, different games that I'm really not that good at. I'm going to develop these skills as well.
Yeah.
I think I enjoy all of it, but there's something about going out there and forcing a grown man against their will. It's like,
I don't know. I never really got. Wow, that's a you thing, I guess.
It is.
I don't know. Like
That's
when I win
beautiful. It's
someone,
poetic.
you know, like I never could sympathize with people who'd like win a match and be like super hype. I'm like, I guess this is done. You know, like I don't know.
It's probably also
I'm never
like
that
how
hyped
you
when I win a
like-
match.
Are you
Well,
Are you competitive?
I've only,
Oh yeah, this is actually. I
What'd you
like
just say?
that you bring this up.
is he competitive?
Oh,
I'm competitive in everything except jiu-jitsu for the most part, I think. In jiu-jitsu, I feel like so like when I play random video games or board games or whatever
Yeah.
game, I love to be competitive
Dude,
just for
fuck
fun
yeah.
because I enjoy it. But then like it incentivizes things that I don't think are good for long-term development.
For learning.
emotion.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Can't be emotional.
So no, not even the emotional. I'll cheat straight up just to win. Like I'll do whatever. I'll
do
just like,
steroids then.
no, but, okay. See, this is where it gets to my point. Where, so, like, for example, I'm playing a card game. I'll just try to look at someone else's cards just to win. You know, especially with my family, friends. But then, if I want to develop appreciation for the game, I want to play it the way I think it's supposed to be played. You know, and so with jiu-jitsu, I kind of had to like remove myself from for a really long time. Like, okay, I'm just doing technique. I'm like I disassociate myself from the outcome, right? And then after a while, especially when I compete, I kind of bring that back in, you know? But it does, like, I don't like that. In the training room, I don't think I need to be that competitive. And before competition, and, like, I ramp it up, then I can be a little bit more competitive. But it doesn't necessarily encourage the things I want to work on. It doesn't, like, if I'm competitive, I might, to some degree, maybe I can think of new jiu-jitsu, think of new techniques, and I let that fuel me a little bit. I'm like, okay, what can I do to solve this problem? But it's more out of interest and curiosity than, like, I need to beat this guy.
Now, do you, to me, from the outside, obviously, you know, you do most of your training overseas and then you come to B team. When I watch you train, it doesn't actually look like you train differently for competition. It looks like you just do what you want to do.
Now, yes.
Okay.
Like I think the last camp kind of like burnt me out a little bit because I was like
Last CJI camp?
last CGI camp. Well, I was just like
Doing like 5.
just like bang, bang,
Longest,
bang,
yeah.
bang, bang. You know, just like that would just tired me out. So this time, like I'm trying to approach it where it's just like I'm just doing the jiu-jitsu I like to do. I'm just focusing on that, focusing a little bit on submissions, trying to get the sub. But I'm not gonna try. I don't know. I never thought of like I want to grit this out. I want to just. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to do it to enjoy jiu-jitsu still, you know? And this is more, I guess, avoiding burnout and stuff like this.
I think there's you know, something to that. It's like you see a lot of guys that do get burnt out just because they've been training fucking for years and they're like, all right,
Probably how you're training too. Like if every time you go in there, it's like you're competitive, you're falling back on your A game because you have to beat everyone you're training with, and you're gonna get burnt out mentally, but also physically. Like you're gonna, if you're going balls to the wall every time.
Clearly, you know, we all stopped or didn't pursue a traditional job because we love jujitsu. It's like you want to make sure that you still love what you're doing every day. It's like you don't want to fucking
You can very
you wanna
easily
hate it.
shift away from that, like without your realization of it.
For sure.
But yeah, it's just funny because when you first came, you only been here for like a week or something, but it's like, I was like, Joe, are you prioritizing submissions at all? He's like, oh, well, I want to hold this position and I'm not incentivized to take the back. I'm like, bro, fucking sub him. Come on.
I'm trying, you know, I was
Yeah,
doing more
I know.
leg locks.
Dude, you're doing way more leg locks now. Looks awesome.
Reluctantly.
I know. Thank you.
They should just be banned from the sport. It's like cheating. It's like if you respect like the art of like positional this and that. What the fuck are you?
Bro, it's so funny watching Joe Chen because he narrates his own roles.
I know.
He's like, I don't really want to pass here, and there's 1 minute left, so
Bro,
I'm gonna fall back into
I'm
a leg
like
entanglement.
fighting for my life to stop his guard pass.
I don't want to call him out.
Oh,
I was just like,
I gave it to him. I got this 30 seconds left. We're fucking cruise.
he's also not being competitive. He's like, I don't
Exactly.
need to grit this out. It's okay. It's part of
You
the
gotta
game.
love the game.
Yeah.
exactly.
Go on.
But I don't know. I don't know, because some people I think get pissed at this, you know, like
What?
like if I narrate and I talk too much.
Ethan loves it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something.
I'm
I
reading
think
your
this-
mind.
I think this came out of a desire for me to communicate what I'm doing to my training partner, like a long time ago, where I think it raises the level of everyone.
And you're telling me you're not autistic?
Shut the fuck up, bro.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Because imagine if I tell you what I'm going to do.
And then I do it?
And then either I'm going to still do it, which means it's sick, or you're going to stop me, which gives me more stuff to work with. Because then I'm like, okay, now I know, you know what I'm, because one of the biggest problems I think in the training room is, let's say if you want to raise the level of the room, is you want to make sure they know what you're doing, right? Because if I just do the same shit to someone over and over and they don't understand what I'm doing, they're not going to be able to defend it, right?
Ethan's like,
Whereas you
I don't want them to know at all.
So by communicating, I'm kind of talking about what I'm doing, and sometimes it's just
they'll learn to counter, and then you'll learn to counter, and the overall level will raise up faster.
Yeah, and I do like I like to say, oh, that was nice, oh, that was close, stuff like this, just because
keep their spirits up.
You know, this is honestly just because. But I've never I'm not like Wagner. I don't talk in competition. Maybe I should, honestly.
Yeah, do it.
But
I can't multitask.
Oh, actually, I talked to Varela in my match. He tried to like do some
in the CGI match.
Yeah, he tried to like jump off the wall to do some crazy shit. I'm like, I don't want to be highlighted like that. Or I said something like,
did he say?
I don't want to get hit with that shit. And I just circled away.
I think I only talked in the Yuri match.
Really?
He told me shut up, and I said I love you.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That's the only time I've talked. Yeah.
That's the only words you've ever. Did he say I love you back?
No.
Oh.
You know, the Russians, they usually picked out the people that can go into that sport. That was the old-fashioned sports school. But it's mostly like when you walk into a Russian wrestling room, you see them hitting skills, techniques. You know, you don't see them banging against each other that much. But then when practice is over, you might not see a bunch of sprints. You might see them walk over to the ropes, and they drop down from the ceiling, and they'll jump up and climb a rope. Boom, boom, boom. And then they come down, and then they don't jump right back on. They have 3 or 4 other guys go, and then they jump back on. Whereas I probably made my guys climb them, get right back down, climb them right back again. But I also realized that I had to have a mix of that.
What was the role? What was your role? I mean, those guys looked up at Dan Gable, and what was the role in helping these athletes become their best? These national champions.
Well, you had to first of all prove that you knew what you were doing.
In terms of technique or in terms of hard work?
Everything. You had to be the first guy there and the last guy to leave, and you had to be the most dedicated guy, even though they were the ones that's trying to win the championships. You had to prove that you were going to work just as hard as they were as a coach.
And what does that look like? So you can see it when you know it when you see it?
Well, you're there ahead of them, and you're there after they leave. You know, it's that simple. I'm picking up after them, and you're analyzing them. You outwork them. And you outthink them. And so, use that type of strategy. And over time, when you prove it works, because some of my kids that were the best kids in the world really shouldn't have been a wrestler. I mean, they weren't very coordinated.
Yeah.
But they worked so hard to develop themselves. So
what was your role in that process? I mean, that means pushing kids to their limit. If you're not...
Yeah, but you can't push kids to their limit. And even when you push them to their limit, that's not their limit. Because their limit's above and beyond that.
Right.
I mean, yeah, coaches sometimes accidentally they lose kids.
Yeah.
Because of the heat, because of hard work and all that. And you gotta know when to back off. You gotta read your athletes. And by that, I mean, you got to know them pretty well. Every once in a while, you make a little bit of a mistake, but if you don't react right on that mistake before it gets too far, then it's going to be a casualty. And I don't mean somebody dying necessarily, but maybe something that could turn them off, or maybe something that could run them away, or maybe something that, wow, that was close. I maybe shouldn't have pushed them that far. So you really have to be very educated. And it's not just what you know, it's what you know about them. And I'm not talking about the team. I'm talking about each guy on the team.
Individuals, yeah.
Yeah, each person on the team.
And you know it how? You see it in their eyes?
You know it how because You're the first one there, and you're the last one to leave, and you set in the environment with them. You're there for in the morning for practice. Sometimes you're there in the afternoon for 2 or 3 hours after practice. You might have a hot room, or you might have a sauna or a steam or a whirlpool, and you get in there with them and you listen. You know, you're not just feeding out information. You do that, but you're taking in a lot of that too. And I'm telling you, when you get in an atmosphere that they're relaxed and they feel comfortable, it's like a massage. And that's after practice in one of those areas that people are around you. You learn a lot. I mean, you got a lot to learn as a coach. And when you get in that atmosphere, when all of a sudden you feel like very comfortable, words start flowing. And when those words flow, you take them in as a coach. And there's something probably going to be said that you can do and act upon that's going to help certain situations. I've saved a couple kids' lives for sure that were on the brink. You know, sometimes performance is at such a high level in a high level atmosphere that life and death is actually involved. And I don't mean pushing a kid to where he just dies, but I mean he might feel himself as a failure. And he might go home and take his own life.
In your opinion, what's the most effective way to improve? Paying more attention to other people's sparring, maybe a specific way of drilling, training?
That's a great question. It's also a huge question. There's a lot to say about this. I'll try and break this down. Okay, first, our ideal in jiu-jitsu is progressive training, okay? If you're getting to a situation where long periods of time are going by and you're questioning whether you're really getting any kind of better, you're getting better at all as time goes by, that's just never a good thing. There should be a sense in which when a year passes by, you should be noticeably better than you were at the start of that year. That should never be in doubt. The question is, okay, how are you going to do this? And how are you going to maximize the rate of progression? It's one thing to make progress, but are you making the most possible progress? That, I think, is the real question you're asking here. I believe the first step is to have a clear understanding of where you stand now. If you don't have a clear idea of what your current level is, what you're currently good at, and what you're currently poor at, and what you need to get to the next level that you desire, it's hard to make any kind of progress. So your first step is always self-assessment. Can you give yourself an accurate self-assessment? And what is that self-assessment going to be based on? Well, it should be based upon how you perform relative to the peers that you have around you. Who are the people you train with? How are you performing with them? What are your most successful elements? What part of the game are you performing well upon them? What parts of the game are you performing poorly? So always begin with the most accurate self-assessment you can give. I believe that the best way to gain self-assessment is through the use of video. Videotape yourself. We often have very inaccurate perceptions about ourselves. We tend to think that we're better than we really are in some ways, and we tend to underestimate ourselves in other ways. Video doesn't lie, okay? Film yourself going against other people and try to make assessments based on what you see in front of you. Listen to the opinions of some people who you trust, but also bear in mind that other people's opinions of you are often inaccurate too. So, as I said, video is generally a better way to study yourself than your own perceptions of yourself or other people's perceptions. They also provide a very accurate historical reference so that a year from now you can watch yourself rolling under, sparring under similar circumstances, and you can compare the videos and give it a pretty accurate assessment. Are you making progress or not? Once you have that clear sense of assessment, who am I, what am I good at, what am I not good at, what do I need to improve, then you've got to start building a program which is designed to improve your current strengths and radically improve your current weaknesses. The two kinds of progress you always want to be making are refinement of things you're already good at. Okay, you never want to be static at things you're already good at. You always want to refine them, get better. A good example of Roger Gracie. Roger was always very, very strong in cross-collar strangles. But between 2003 and 2008, he got radically better at them. He was already good, but he wasn't satisfied with that and kept getting better until by 2008 it was almost an unstoppable technique. The other thing is you've got to identify your weaknesses and do something about that. What I will say is that you guys in this generation of jiu-jitsu have something which my generation of jiu-jitsu had to a very limited degree, and previous generations didn't have at all. You live in an information age. Okay, this is a remarkable time in human history where we have greater access to information than any generation previous to us by a landslide. Okay, you can live in the North Pole, far from anywhere, and at any given moment, you can access information from the best world champions. You can go on Roger Gracie's website and learn from the greatest jiu-jitsu athlete of his generation. You can be living in the North Pole and watch ADCC live and see the best athletes in the world competing against each other. Everyone has equal access to information. Once you gain that information, you can use that to build training programs. You don't have to be training with the best guys in the world. You just need access to the information and to train with your peers to make remarkable progress over time. Always remember that Roger Gracie, when he moved to England, was training mostly with white belts and blue belts. And yet that was the time he made the most progress in his career, because he had information, he figured things out, he used trial and error methods, he constantly worked with the students. It didn't matter that the students weren't particularly experienced, he was still making incredible progress, more than almost anyone at that time in the world. So I'm a big believer that once you make an accurate self-assessment of who you are, what you're good at, what you're not good at, the information is out there, okay? Then just build a training program based on refining your current strengths and working your way around your current weaknesses. I'm a big believer in positional sparring, so that if you have a current weakness with a certain kind of escape, put yourself in there. Volume of training is the key to success. You got to have knowledge, you got to know what you're doing, and you got to have a high volume of training, exercising that knowledge to turn it into a skill. By focusing on those current weaknesses, you can eventually turn them into strengths, so that we have situations that, as I said earlier in this video, jiu-jitsu was the overall performance of leg locks in jiu-jitsu 10 years ago was terrible, it was a disaster. And yet now it's one of the strongest aspects of the sport. You will be amazed at what time can do once you make a strong assessment of where you currently stand, an accurate self-diagnosis, usually best done through the use of video, the acquisition of knowledge, and you have a greater ability to make use of that now than any other point in human history. You can go on Hodge's website, there's numerous websites out there, there's instructional videos, you can just watch match footage of the best athletes in the world. There's an incredible opportunity for anyone, regardless of location, to gain information. Then it's a question of taking that information and building it into physical skills. Okay? It's not enough just to have knowledge, you've got to be able to perform. And that will come from a training program, which I believe should be focused primarily around positional sparring and the drilling of moves until you feel, and initially you have to drill moves with a lack of resistance just to get a basic feeling for the technique. And then you have to progressively work against tougher and tougher opponents, applying it under sparring conditions. And if you can do this over time, you can make remarkable progress. There's an old saying that most people tend to greatly overestimate what they can do in terms of progress over a 6-month period, but greatly underestimate what they can do over a 5 to 10 year period. Okay, if you just have some patience and work in this disciplined manner, based on a clear assessment of where you stand now, the acquisition of knowledge, and the turning of that knowledge into physical skill through a specialized training program based largely around positional sparring and drilling, you'll be amazed at what you can do to transform yourself in 5 to 10 years.
What advice would you give to beginners, people starting out in judo, how to develop their game, how to find the beauty in the sport and the art of judo?
if you put 10 people in a room and said, right, get on with it.
Yeah.
You'd have mayhem, right? And I think that whatever sport you're doing, you need good instruction, good teaching, and a good club atmosphere, somewhere that's not so intense that winning is the only thing. And I think that if you look at 90% of the people that practice martial arts are doing it for pleasure. So they want to get pleasure. So you need a club that's got a bit of a mixture. They've got a direction to go into competition if they want. And then the rest, it's for fun and to enjoy it, but with really good instruction. Because with really good instruction and a good foundation and a good base, you get more enjoyment because you're more, you have more success. And let's be honest, the more success we have with something, the more we like it.
Yeah, and great technique is a way to really discover the beauty of the art. And so great teaching is really important there.
Great teaching is so important.
What about what does it take to get from the early days when you start judo to world-class level?
I think that with most, you do hear, don't you? If somebody's been doing judo for 8 years and then they're in, and I think it happened, one of the French, Chimeo, she went to the Olympic Games in 2012 and she'd been doing judo for 8 years. But then she started to lose, so she had a relative success early on. The Olympics was one of them. She got a silver medal. But then she went off the boil and then she came back and now she's still competing. And she's been there for well over 13 years at the very top. So I think that, any foundation, it's like anything. If you lay a really solid foundation, generally it lasts longer.
Yeah, but that foundation, again, is that technique or is there, what does it take to build that foundation?
I think technique, you get away with murder. With technique, you can get away with, having bad condition, but you get found out in the end, but you can go out and you can win certain things by doing really nice technique. But I think if you've got the mixture, if you've got the whole package, then you can, go the whole way.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Why do you think your growth was so accelerated in comparison to someone else that, let's say, trains as much as you do, for example? Like, was it the way that you learned, or how did you learn, basically?
If we're talking about the same volume of training, I would definitely say I was fortunate enough that I was introduced to a lot of very intelligent means of training very early on. Mm-hmm. So my original coach in Nanjing, he's under a guy named Rob Bernanke, and he's out of Nanaimo in Canada. Mm-hmm. He has a gym called Island Top Team. And so he was very heavy on a lot of concepts in jiu-jitsu. So a lot of the way I approached training really stemmed on that. And at a similar time, when I had no responsibilities in school, I was watching a lot of tape and I was listening to a lot of podcasts. So this is when BJJ Mental Models, if you're familiar with this podcast, started kicking off, and it gave me a lot of time to really listen to a lot of these ideas. And the guys who started Mental Models, one of them is black belt under Bernanke, Matt Kwan. And so it really introduced a lot of these ideas and kind of exposed me to them more after having already been somewhat familiar to them, just because of my coach really teaching that. But then being able to go into more depth. So for example, he talks about different ways to interpret information in jiu-jitsu. So he he has this thing called alignment theory, which is basically everything can be broken down into posture, structure, base. And then he defines these things. It's not just this is something I really like, where it's if you want to think about a problem, right, things have to be fairly clear for you to actually derive things from them and then come to conclusions. So for example, it's not you hear this a lot where it's oh, you want to be in good base, but what does it actually mean, right? It's it's hard to define. So he came up with definitions for all these things, and so it makes it easier to think about. So for example, base is, well, at least his definition at the time was, your base is your ability to generate and absorb force relative to your goals. And this is a very easy definition. So you can think about base more creatively now, because now you can fit that into so many different positions. Base isn't just being on top and being stable. Yeah. Base can be, you can be on bottom playing guard, but if you have a good ability to carry weight and then exert force, this means you're in good base. Similarly, you can make different analogies, right? If I'm a sprinter, there's optimal base for sprinting, but that doesn't mean it's the optimal base for everything, right?
Yeah.
Similarly in jiu-jitsu, it's like this is how you can kind of take an idea and carry it over to a bunch of different areas. So stuff like that was really helpful for me. So I think thinking about things that way, and then obviously not having many obligations. I mean, being 15 years old during the pandemic, so really didn't have much I had to do. I didn't do much homework. So
when you see jiu-jitsu in a lot of the videos like on YouTube, for example, like it's kind of like, it seems like a little bit of like a meathead culture with like wrestling and stuff like that as well. But then you seem to take a lot more of like an intellectual approach to jiu-jitsu. Do you think some people just do it on kind of like a instinctual level? And you think,
I mean, not everyone. I definitely think there are a lot of people who are very like intelligent about the way they approach it, but it would be, there's no denying that there's definitely that culture of being like being very strong sport, and like kind of just like trying harder, you know? I mean, this and this. I mean, I might be mischaracterizing, but isn't like Pohada like just like this kind of idea of like, oh, you just want to go. So I mean, I definitely think there's something to be said and something valuable about doing stuff like this, but then there's also, you have to use it intelligently. This can't be everything you're going with, you know? So I think like balancing the two, it's like you can't be like only toughness. And I think of this as like an idea that I really liked a lot was, actually I think I got this it was like a distinction between growth and performance. And like, I believe I got this from a YouTube video talking about Tekken or like Street Fighter, where I was like talking about the difference between the two. And it's like some people, if you're too much in a growth mindset, so like, it was like honers versus innovators. I think this is like a similar analog where some people, they just hone the same skill set over and over and really try to refine everything. And then some people, it's not so much about refinement, it's more about innovating with new ideas and trying to bring new techniques in. And so I really think ultimately in jiu-jitsu, it's about balancing the two. And it's a bit of a deviation from like going hard and like a meathead culture. But some people, it's like, I think, how can I connect this back where it's important to balance the two. And I found like, for me at least in my jiu-jitsu, it's like basically when I'm about to compete, it's performance based, and that's really refining what I already have. Versus when I'm in a more of a off season or there's no immediate competitions coming up, then I'm in a more growth mindset where I'm going to be trying to on-take new information. And there are a lot of characteristics for each of these like mindsets, right? So if I'm more performance oriented, I'm going to be a lot more intuitive with the way I approach my training. I'm not going to think too much about, okay, what's happening in this position? What are some, I'm going to do what I know, and I'm going to try to do that in a very timely manner. Versus in a more of this growth mindset where I'm trying to on-take new information. I'm going to work at a slower pace. I'm going to think more consciously about things. And this isn't necessarily conducive to like winning, but it's going to help me really think about what I'm doing and then on-take new ideas. And then I feel like some people, they just do one too much. You know, there's some people that are just like, they just drill and they just play around with stuff, but they don't really take the time to refine it to the degree where they can use it competitively. But then there are some people who have a game that they just stuck to, and that's all they do. And so I think ultimately for me, I was very intentional about this, where I was just, I was really like, I'm going to spend X period of time doing like this performance oriented approach, and then X period of time going with growth. And it's not like, I'm not so systematic in the sense I'm like, 2 weeks. It's more like a feeling, you know? Where it's like, I feel like I feel pretty good with where I'm at for my skill set for this certain comp. So now I'm just going to focus on refining. If that makes sense. Okay. I mean, I went on a bit of a tangent there, but hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, just how I see it is like a lot of people in most gyms, they just kind of want to come in, do their rounds, and get out, basically, right? Like the way the jiu-jitsu class is structured. But you seem to have this whole other level of like learning, basically. So, so when you're training, for example, you don't kind of do the traditional like 30 minutes of class, positional sparring, then just rolling, obviously, right? You approach it in a whole different manner.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing wrong with doing that. Because,
of course, I
mean, jiu-jitsu is like, to different people, it can be different things. I think this is one of the things that makes a hobby, I'm not saying jiu-jitsu is special, like whatever hobby you're doing, it that takes you away from, it can give you a means to socialize, can give you a means to stay fit, can give you like something to think about, right? It's like whatever you want it to be, it can be this for you. I'm not saying everyone has to approach it exactly the way I am, right? But for me, the reason I enjoy it is because it kind of gives me this like intellectual playground where I can think about all these different ideas in this way, I mean, obviously there's the bonus of, okay, I can stay somewhat fit, and then I can also socialize. Like, I mean, most of my friends, I mean, are met through jiu-jitsu. I don't know how I would have known them otherwise. So yeah, but I think that's what I really enjoy the most. So like what you're describing, where it's like this kind of approach. Like I was fortunate enough again, where fairly early in my jiu-jitsu journey, like I was encouraged to watch instructionals, and even during class, once I got to a certain level, my instructor was like, man, you can drill as long as you don't interrupt the class, just drill whatever you want to drill. You can like, they're very open discourse about a lot of these new ideas, and he was very open to new information. So it really was a great environment for me to actually like really try to learn a lot of new things.
Yeah. So if we're gonna discuss, like, if you're gonna tell, like, explain this to an idiot.
Same, bro. That's the reason I'm doing jiu-jitsu, you know?
So like, in terms of like when you're doing training, for example, so let's say, what would that look like in a typical, let's say, week or month, and how you're trying to do it basically? Is it like mostly positional sparring? Is it I'm studying this and I'm going to try and do this during a roll?
Yeah. So, I mean, for example, like right now we're leading up to, for me, CGI, Kenta, ADCC, right? So right now we're still far enough out where it's not going to be like super performance oriented. We're still working on the skills that are going to be, or what we think is going to be appropriate for the rule set, but then slowly incorporating rounds, maybe like a shorter volume throughout the week of, okay, well, now we're going to do a competitive ADCC round. And like, this is something I think is very important. And it's like, you need that period where you get to practice these techniques, but then you need a period where you can actually use them in a competitive situation. So, right now, it's going to be more oriented towards ADCC, and that's the goal. But then when we're outside of that, man, I might just do something because I think it's cool. Yeah. Right? So, for example, like a lot of stuff I was playing with before I came into like this camp is like no-gi omoplatas, and then using that and how I can play with that. Just because I found it interesting. I think it's cool. I don't think it's like mixing omoplata with crucifix and K-guard, and then like what Levi does in terms of like Xanadu guard, and this just because I find it interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of my progress in jiu-jitsu is led by my own curiosity more than actually trying to win. You know, I mean, like now I do think about, okay, what's the strategy for me to win a match, right? But it's still like largely guided by, okay, I think this is pretty interesting. I'm going to try to play with this.
Yeah. So it's curiosity and the fact that you actually you had time to study, and you like, would you say you like to study as well?
I mean, I like to study if I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
I think it's honestly about like finding what piques your interest. I do think, I mean, sometimes it can be, I'm not going to tell anyone you should sit through like an 8-hour instructional and bore yourself to death. I watch that.
Some people hate it, but
I watch those videos on at least 2 times speed.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh, but, right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we all know who we're talking about. But, but basically, I mean, I do that if I think it's necessary, right? But I try to be fairly introspective with where I think I need the most improvement. And so I'm like, okay, like for example, I feel like my supine guard is bad. Okay, then I'm going to work on my supine guard. And then what are some areas to start? I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult to find. There are plenty of instructionals talking about this, plenty of practitioners who do this very well. Yeah. And so whatever piques your interest, go down that path. You know, maybe it's not the most like optimal path. Like maybe you do something and it's like, oh, you kind of come to the conclusion where it's like, okay, it's not that good, but then you pivot, right?
Yeah. So regarding the introspection as well, like you're thinking, oh, maybe I need to improve here, maybe I need to improve there. Would you say you can definitely like accelerate that via having someone else looking at your roles as well, or did you start doing this like by watching your own roles first?
I think it's most important to do it yourself.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with having like a coach help you, and I think it works very well. But in the long term, you want to be able to do it yourself. Yeah. Right? You want to be able to not rely on someone else, because otherwise you're going to be more or less a reflection of them and not your own practitioner. I think that there's definitely a time and a place, and it's not necessarily wrong to like really take out some stuff from like an instructor, but that can't be all.
You can't just be getting like spoon fed the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think if you're just doing it for fun, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to get like, I think, as good as you can, you're going to have to, it's going to be a lot of you doing the work, you thinking about, okay, what am I going to do here? What do I think works for me? Because again, like I'm sure, I mean, you've trained for long enough to realize this, where it's like something that works for person A won't necessarily work for person B.
Absolutely.
Right. And then also thinking about why that is the case. And that's going to help you become a better instructor.
Yeah.
And it's like ultimately becoming your own jiu-jitsu mind, where you're able to think about these problems critically and then derive certain solutions. And then you're able to, like, I don't know, make everything make sense a little bit more. So, I mean, this is, I don't know. I feel like kind of the path that I went down, especially like really trying to get as good as I can, just because I thought it would be cool. You know, like I signed up for my first trials when I was an orange belt.
Yeah.
It got delayed till 2021, 2022. But I thought it was always fun, you know.
So there's nothing worse than walking out on your first day and just having no sense of direction as to where you should be going. You know, many people walk in, they get taught a new move every day, and so here's a move today, here's a move tomorrow, and you know, do your best with it. The whole goal of our sport is to be able to submit your opponent. Okay, picture yourself on top mount against somebody, and you want to go for an armbar, but you know that if you go for that armbar from top mount and you lose it, and you end up on bottom, and maybe in side control or with your back taken perhaps, that there's no way you're ever going to be able to escape. Right? The chance of you attempting that armbar drastically decrease because of the fear that you'll get held in a situation or submitted if you were to lose that armbar. So you end up just holding positions, you hold mount for the whole round, and then you know nothing ever happens. You kind of lose that sense of going into a match with the idea of, okay, I have to control this guy, but I also have to eventually submit him. So what gives you the confidence to open up and to go for attacks and try to go for submissions is your ability to escape both bad positions and submissions. So that if you have the confidence where you can escape, now you're in top mounted in an armbar, you can confidently go for that armbar knowing that even if you miss it, you end up bottom guard, bottom half guard, bottom side control, bottom mount with your back taken, with you in an armbar, yourself, the guy ends up in mount on you after you fail, and you know, he gets an armbar, that you can either escape those bad positions or those submissions. Okay, so the first thing you should be looking at, which is the opposite of what most people tell you. Most people tell you how to attack first, is actually escaping bad positions and submissions. Okay, so from white to blue belt, you should focus on your pin escapes and submission escapes. All right, this will give you the confidence at later belts to be able to go in and actually attack your own submissions, knowing that if you end up in a bad spot, that you can escape and easily go back into your offensive attacking cycle. So from white to blue belt, you start by first learning how to escape and defend, and then from purple to black belt, that's when you focus on going in and attacking people. Okay, you have submissions, you have positions, guard passing, sweeps, things like that. All right, but without the ability and the confidence to escape bad spots, you're never going to have the confidence to go in and attack submissions knowing that you could end up in a bad spot.
Good. So Gordon, so kind of breaking down here, so what you did on your career, white and blue belt, you pretty much focus way more on escapes than attacks. And then purple, brown, and black, you kind of switch a little more to attacks. If you had to break down like belt per belt.
Yeah, that's what I should have done. It's not what I actually did. But when I started to train under John, I was a blue/purple belt when I started training full time with John. And my escapes were terrible. If I ever got into a bad spot, I wouldn't be able to escape. So John basically started teaching me as if I was a white belt, because when I started training with John, I was very, very bad at jiu-jitsu. So the first thing John taught me was escapes. And once I was confident that no one could hold me down and no one could submit me, that gave me the confidence to start going into attacks. Because John started us with leg locks. So every time I would try to put an ashigarami in place, I would either get my guard passed or my back taken. People would crush me, or they would take my back. And at first I was just getting held down with people past my guard or getting my back held for the round, and I was getting so frustrated that I couldn't escape. And then John was teaching us leg locks and escapes at the same time. So that I could have the confidence to go for leg locks, knowing that even if I got my guard passed, I would be able to just escape and go right back into attacking. So I did it the wrong way coming up. That's why it took me so long to progress from white to purple brown belt. But then at brown belt, when I started to have that confidence and gain that confidence, my career really started to take off from brown belt until current date.
So if you would teach the young Gordon Ryan, you would teach him escapes as white belt, focus 80% on escapes. Blue belt, you would still escapes, or you would start switching to?
Yeah. So first positional escapes, then submission escapes, and then you start to build at blue to purple belt from not only escaping, but escapes into attacks. Okay. You have to remember there's offensive and defensive cycles. You can't just escape, defend, because then your opponent stays in an offensive cycle where every time you go to defend, they just keep attacking. So you're only just defending. It's no good. You have to get into a situation where you go into escapes right into attacks on submissions. Okay, that should be, obviously you have to learn some submissions. You can't just go all the way, you can't just spend 4 years from white to purple belt focusing on, not having any submissions, but your main focus should be on escaping, defending submissions, and then transitioning into going from a defensive cycle where you're going from bottom side control or bottom mount, and instead of just escaping, going right back into your own attacks, whether it be a sweep or a submission. The guy has your back, and instead of escaping and ending up top guard, you escape and you go right into a leg lock, for example.
Okay. No, man, that's amazing.
So where we're talking about elite level athletes in terms of randori, in terms of drilling, for more recreational athletes, I have personally that situation going on, but there's other people that are just recreationally training judo. How do you recommend they improve judo? Like, if I wanted to compete a bunch and do reasonable with a particular set of throws, say the split Seonagi. So how do you do the randori? Do you use a crash pad to get in reps? What do you recommend?
So I guess there's two recreational people that we're talking about. One is somebody who wants to learn judo and become good at judo, but doesn't necessarily want to compete, but just wants to get better. And I think that there's not enough emphasis in this country on
just that,
on paying attention to that type of student. Everybody pushes them to competition, but in reality, there's a huge audience of people out there that would love to learn judo and be very proficient at judo and have the skills to go execute if they ever needed it. Mm-hmm. And there's a class and there should be a program for that athlete. And that athlete does not need to do randori. Mm-hmm. Like, the sport of judo is physical enough when you're picking somebody up all the time and moving their body weight around the mat all the time, where you can get very physically strong, very physically fit. Technically, you'll be better than somebody that does randori more than you, because if you learn good technique and you learn the movement and you learn the feel and you learn the timing, you'll actually be a better athlete than the person that just focuses on randori, who does ugly technique and wins with force. Mm-hmm. So, we have a recreational class at our school where they don't do any randori. They have an option afterwards if they want to stay for 15 minutes or stay for 30 minutes where they can participate in randori. But most of the adult students choose not to, because they're already so tired from the other, hour class.
It's a good workout.
Right. They're already dripping sweat. They're already like, if you work hard and drill hard, it's an intense workout. You're exhausted. So that's a specific set of a program, I should say, at every academy. And then if you want to get good and you want to compete, then to me, once you have your techniques, it's learning how to implement a good gripping system to put yourself in a position where you can always, dominate the grips, control the movement, initiate the reactions from your opponent, and then have the opportunity to attack and score. And I think that when people train with, or when they jump into a higher level of the sport of judo, all of a sudden the first thing they say is, I can't attack. Like, I don't know how to attack, because positionally, they don't know where to put their hands. They don't know how to hold the gi properly. They don't understand that they have an inferior grip, and they don't know how to get into better positions so they can attack. And that's a big part of the game that not a lot of people really understand.
So you really, even for recreational competitors, you really need to have a gripping system. You need to understand the gripping system.
If you want to win.
Yeah.
I mean, if the goal is to go and compete, that's a different story. I don't have fun getting beat up or losing in competitions. I enjoy the
I don't even know if it's the winning or the losing. I think this is because I competed a lot in both judo and jiu-jitsu. And in judo, it feels like, because I didn't have a gripping system, it feels like you're not even playing judo against the good black belts. They're not even trying, because they get a certain kind of grip and you just can't do anything. Right. And I don't have a good answer for that. I don't even know what I'm looking for. And so it's not even fun. It's not like even losing. It's like I don't know. It's like you didn't even show up to play, is what it feels like, and it's unfortunate. And I think that is a big gap in knowledge actually in judo schools is the gripping part.
When you first go out to do judo, right? You the first thing you have to do is you have to grab your opponent, right? And a lot of times I hear coaches say, "Get a grip. Just take a grip." Well, sometimes if you take a grip, you're in a worse position than not having a grip at all. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Like if you hold the gi in the wrong way, your opponent can attack you, but you can't attack him. So why would you ever do that grip if it's only to your detriment? Right? So and the way you grip does set up what attacks you can do as well. So that is a huge part. And I'm not saying that you have to be 100% disciplined and always outgrip your opponent and only be able to do throws when you have a superior grip. I'm just saying that to be able to put the grips together with the throws and understand the movements is going to make you that much ahead of the game.